This video is a map of Toddington. Not a map in the conventional sense, but the sort of map of a place which we all carry in our memory. A collection of pictures or scenes loosely connected. In making this video, first, we asked local people what features of Toddington they would miss the most if they were to disappear. Next, we asked some pupils at Parkfield School to invent a board game based on this list. They came up with some splendid games, and one was reproduced as a tea towel. You are now looking at drawings from the border of this game. And here is the tea towel. The green is the centre of Toddington, so we will start our map from there. Standing in the churchyard, you get a good view of the whole green, or Market Square as it should be called. Not far from the church is Conger Hill, probably the remains of a Norman motte. At one time, children from the primary school would come here on Shrove Tuesday to listen to the old woman or witch in the hill frying her pancakes. These newspaper photographs are from about 10 years ago. However, this year there was snow. And the youngsters had other things to do. The green can be very bleak in winter, and it is not a place to linger. But spring soon comes, with a welcome display of daffodils. Local organisations run stalls to raise money, and soon the sun is warm enough to sit and watch the world go by. The main road crossing the green continues down the High Street and on south to Dunstable. On the outskirts of Toddington is the fire station, where we went to watch the retained crew practicing.
Some people might say this is rather a big station for Toddington, a population of 4,000 people, but it was opened in 1973. There's a reason for it being a big station, I believe.
Yes, it was first originally built because the motorway, the M1, coming through. They found it, they wanted machines here to cover the motorway from junction 12 to 13 and south to 11. And that's why they put it here as a day manning station rather than just retained.
The setup here is that, as I understand it, you have a daytime staff and then a section called retained firemen. Can you explain the difference between these? People might find that a bit difficult to understand.
Well, we both do the same job. The whole-time staff cover here during the daytime between 6:30 in the morning and 1700 hours, 5 o'clock at night. Mainly because the retained section have to do their normal work, Vauxhalls or the airport or what have you, and they're not available during the daytime, so we haven't got the cover during the day, so they put whole-time staff here. At night, from 1700, 5 o'clock until early morning, we're all the same. We're both treated the same, both do the same job.
Now, how quickly do they have to be to the fire station to do this work?
The maximum they can live is 2 miles away, and they have to be on the station within 4 minutes. The furthest we've got, I suppose we've only got somebody that's about 2.5 minutes is the longest anybody takes to turn in.
Right.
We do actually dual attendance with Luton appliances, as far as Hopwell Ring and Sunner Park. Dual attendances with Dunstable down in Houghton Regis. And we've got dual attendances with Amptill and Woburn on the north of the county.
Right. So how long have you been a firefighter, Cathy?
Nearly 2.5 years.
Right, and you, Stuart?
Just over 3, I think it is.
And you've obviously been to a lot of incidents in that time.
Quite a few, yeah.
And, you know, how do you feel about that? Why do you do it? I'm sure it can't be for an enormous amount of money.
Well, no, not really.
Obviously it's a part, but it's more, you're doing a good job, you enjoy it.
Yeah.
You're straight out there with friends, and you could be saving some life at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Enjoyment is the main part of it.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Right.
Because when you get out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's pouring down.
That's the downside.
Yeah, when you come out your front door and you get soaked and you've got to run down the road.
Yeah,
That's
still do it though, don't
you enjoy it though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
But you can look back on an incident and feel, well, that was a job well done with your colleagues.
That's
and
right.
Feel some satisfaction about
yes.
serving the community.
Returning along the High Street, we reached the Wesleyan Chapel. Built in 1846. The interior is impressive and with a quiet dignity. On the other side of the main road is the pond, now redesigned as a memorial garden in memory of all parishioners who died in both world wars. It is a peaceful and relaxing area, also enjoyed by the ducks. But in June it becomes a hive of activity on Music Day, a new tradition in Toddington, with performances by local and visiting groups of musicians. Once again, local organisations take the opportunity to run stalls and raise money. Incidentally, the Angel is not the only pub in Toddington. There are 8 others. The Bedford Arms with the Duke of Bedford's arms, the Red Lion from the same arms, the Oddfellows, the Bell, where some of the church bells were cast, the Sow and Pigs, the Nag's Head, the Griffin from the Earl of Strafford's arms, and the Fancott arms. Keith Baldwin's jazz group is followed by the junior section of the Toddington Town Band. Opposite the Memorial Garden is the main shopping area. Here, most day-to-day things that you are likely to need can be bought. In the centre is the Victory Bakery, which we are going to visit next.
Alan Childs, you're the boss of the Victory Bakery, but I don't think you're the first person on the premises each day.
No, my son-in-law was the first one at 1 o'clock. My son comes in at 2 o'clock, and I come in at 2:45.
Right. Now, we start off with the raw material. When the flour comes here, what sort of consignment is delivered?
Usually we have 5 tons delivered in bulk. And the arms go up, and the arms go, as if we were bending over a trough mixing it. Then we can improve it by bringing the bowl into action. To cut and fold the dough into separate pieces, and then gradually it mixes into one piece. But it's stretching the dough all the time, and therefore it smooths it out.
Right. Now, how much mix would go into one of these big bowls then?
Well, this is a 3/4 sack machine, which is 210 pounds of flour and 12 gallons of water, 5 pounds of salt.
Right. And how long would this be working to mix and fold it?
Usually about 20 minutes. It can have longer if you need to, or to give it a bit longer. It all depends on the type of flour you're using, whether it will take a lot of water or whether it takes a little water. There again, the flour, it all depends on where the flour comes from. For a long time now, we've been, the grade of flour we've had to use has been governed by the EEC. And we haven't been able to use very much American or Canadian flour. Today, as a matter of fact, we have just received a delivery of Canadian flour, so the bread in Toddington for the next week or so should be very good.
Why is it called the Victory Bakery? Is there some reason for that?
Yes, the bakery was started by my father and mother immediately after the Second World War.
Hence the name Victory.
Hence the name Victory.
Now, the process of bread making, has it changed very much since 1945?
Yes, there's a lot more mechanisation these days, and micro-technology. In those days, it was mostly just a dough machine for mixing the doughs up, and an oven. Basically, that was it. And in between, of course, was the men. Nowadays, we've got a tremendous amount of machinery to help us and to give us electrical muscle.
Right.
I should have to speak like you two now, then, wouldn't
Yeah,
I?
something like that, yeah.
Right, how much do you need for that?
45 pence.
45 pence.
This next, please.
Before we explore the green further, we must see the new village hall in Leighton Road. It was built on the site of the old council school and opened in 1993. The window on the left is that of the new parish office. Back on the green, the old forge garage. Ivor Pett, who ran this garage, was one of those who helped in the making of this video. The pump is a favourite landmark. At one time, the only source of water for many houses around Green. Almost hidden by cherry trees, the library is an important and popular resource for all ages. One of the local groups who often meet on the green is the Ramblers, on this occasion in the rain. Our interviewer spoke to their footpath secretary, Alan Portis.
In the old days, footpaths across fields used to be the shortest way for people to get to their work. But now people go to work by car. Is there a case for getting rid of most of the footpaths across the land?
Well, definitely not. Many of the footpaths are now used by people for taking exercise, walking dogs. There's an ever-growing interest in rambling, and most of the footpaths are now extensively used around the village. There are many things that need to be done. Many of the footpaths are, in fact, unwalkable. But perhaps the most important thing that could be done is to waymark the footpaths, to mark them with arrows so that everyone knew where the footpaths were. The situation in Toddington is improving slowly. The situation over the whole country is very patchy. In tourist areas where, such as national parks, there's been a lot of effort put into footpaths. In the less attractive areas to tourists, then not so much effort has been put in. It very much depends as well on the county council authorities as to how vigorous they have been in enforcing the laws.
The cameraman preferred to stay in his car, but they do sometimes have fine weather. For nearly 800 years, the Church of St. George of England has watched over Toddington Green and its people. As the angels in the roof have watched over its worshippers. This frieze is unique, and some of the badly weathered animals have been recarved. One has inspired the pub sign opposite. Following the main road north, and not far from the church, is the Baptist chapel. When we called, it was their open day, and lunch was ready. Continuing north and down into the valley, we come to the bridge across the M1. South to the Granada service station in London, or north towards Birmingham. Just visible is Toddington Manor, where we will go next for some quiet. Impressive though it is, this is only a fraction of the original building, which stood here at the time of the Duke of Monmouth and Henrietta Wentworth. This is the oak on which they carved their initials. W.G. Grace once played cricket here at the manor. On the other side of the village, a football match is in progress on the recreation ground. In one corner of the recreation ground is a play area for young children. When they are old enough, they will go to the primary school, St. George's, and from there to Parkfields. Parkfields is the middle school, where some of the pupils helped with this film. Unfortunately, sound on this tape of Form 8D was very indistinct. However, Terry chose the green as something he would miss because of the effect it created as you walk down Leighton Road. It opens out to form the heart and centre of Toddington. As to the pump, he liked it as a reminder of where people used to go to get their water. Michelle agreed with Terry about the green because it was the first thing you saw on coming into the village. But she added the little houses around the green, as they gave you a feel of what Toddington was like before the new estates were built. She also included the schools, because without them children would have to leave the village to go to school.
It gives you a feel of what Toddington was like before the new estates came into the building.
What about you like the ideas about what you greatly miss about Toddington?
I think I miss the schools because...
This school?
Victoria also chose the schools as something she would miss,
Because, you know, this is a
because without them children would have to travel out into the county.
it's got one main road.
The other feature she chose was Conga Hill,
It would be that main road.
not only because of its legend and custom about the witch, but because it was fun to slide down when it snowed.
You'd have to go out of your way to go to school, so I think I'd miss the schools mostly.
Matthias would miss St. George's Church, not only because he worshipped there, but because it was famous in the county.
Okay, you mentioned the pond and we've heard about the school. Is there anything else?
He also chose the pond with its ducks and wildlife, and because it was a quiet and tranquil place,
Very nice church.
away from the busy life of Toddington. Asked about the chip shop, he thought it was not essential, but it was nice to pop in for chips sometimes.
Really, I'd miss it. It's a very nice church. It's very big.
Yeah. Anything else we can think about? I believe somebody told me that the chip shop was on the list.
Yeah, well...
I mean, do you think that's a silly idea?
Well, it's not an essential in the village, really. You can make your own chips at home, but it's nice to cut at night sometimes.
Right.
To just wander through the streets and then nip in the chip shop.
Across the road from Parkfields is the smallest and last of the local churches we will visit, St. Elizabeth Roman Catholic Church. The interior is warm and welcoming. mid-June, and the big event on the green is the church fete. Everything is here. Bric-a-brac, soft toys, raffles, cakes, face painting is a modern innovation and very popular. Faces change out of all recognition, and I bet there are some who do not want to wash at bedtime. Money changes hands rapidly on the plants and vegetable stall. And here is the bottle stall. Bowling for the pig is a traditional event. And the bouncy castle, a new one. The children's fancy dress is another old favourite. Now harvesters are working long hours in the fields around Toddington to make the best of the weather. The straw is made up into giant Swiss rolls, which stand lonely sentinels in the stubble. But not for long. The ground must be prepared for next year's harvest. Modern tractors make short work of the job, and in no time the fields are ready for sowing next year's crop. Autumn tints warn us that the year is coming to an end, and the next activity on the green will be the Remembrance Day service. 1993 was so cold and windy that the main service was held in the church, with only the wreath laying at the War Memorial. A tree is erected on the green, and quite soon we are all preparing for Christmas. Santa Claus tours all the streets to see where the children are. And one evening we assemble on the green for a carol service. The seasons have now run the year round, and our village map comes to an end. We hope the future Toddingtonians will protect and cherish these and other features of our village, which we have all come to love.